guys? Welcome back to Life and Theirs. Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm going to be talking about just kind of what's happening in my life when it comes to watches. I think something that's very common with watch collectors is we kind of wax and wane into different types of watches, and watches that perhaps we hadn't been thinking about for a very long time kind of catch your eye, and it kind of gets you excited about that specific watch. So I thought I'd talk about some of the watches that have caught my eye recently. These are not new watches. These are, a lot of them are actually watches that you probably have heard of, but I thought I would just kind of talk about the watches that I can think of three that we're going to discuss. And I thought we'd talk about them, just give you my thoughts on them, and just kind of update you where I am on kind of my watch journey, because I think, like I said, it waxes and wanes which watches you're excited about and which watches you want to learn more about and see more. So yeah, that's what I thought I would do today. But before we get into that, if you haven't smashed that like button already, be sure to hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like these types of videos, or you've been watching me and you just simply aren't subscribed, because that is a very big portion of you who are watching, so be sure to do that. Also, let me know in the comments what watches have caught your eye. So I guess I'll start kind of with the first one. I've got them on my screen over here on my left. The first one that kind of has caught my eye recently is a little bit more of a sporty watch, and that is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Tourbillon. It's the extra thin version of this. It's also got a blue dial, so it's a little bit different than your kind of classic Royal Oak. And I don't know why this really came about. I think it's been on my Instagram feed a lot, so I've been kind of consuming it, and I really am realizing that the Royal Oak is it's a perfect, in my opinion, it's a perfect sports watch. I think previously I had seen this on a Talking Watches episode or something like that online, and I kind of thought, no, the Tourbillon kind of disrupts the dial a lot. It's so big that it kind of ruins the proportions in a way. But it's really grown on me. The Tourbillon really has grown on me, and I think what you have to do is actually see a video of it ticking, because I think that's what really makes it special, actually seeing the Tourbillon move. And imagine having that on your wrist where you can actually just essentially get lost in it. I'm still on the fence about if essentially the hole in the dial where the Tourbillon is located is too large or not. It's very, very different than a lot of other watches that have that type of kind of disruption to the dial. I will say though, it's nice that you can actually see different components of the movement as well. So you have the tourbillon, and then you also have at the top you can see one of the gears that is part of the movement. I think that kind of completes it in a way, so it's not just like an airy hole where you just see the tourbillon ticking away. So I guess it kind of the movement assists in filling in the gaps that I think the tourbillon kind of creates in the dial. It's a time-only piece, so you've got an hour's hand and a minute's hand, so it's very, very simple. The dial has this like very unique maybe not unique, but very, very customary for Audemars Piguet is this kind of honeycomb finish to the dial, and it's just a really beautiful, simple dial. And the tourbillon, I mean, it's the movement that is used in this watch, the caliber 2924, is outstandingly created. If you flip it over, you can see a beautiful finished movement on it. There's nothing really that you can go wrong with this piece. It's a stainless, I believe it's a stainless steel bracelet and case, which is a nice contrast with the blue, and I actually think it makes the blue a little bit warmer. Yeah, but it's a beautiful piece, and this one for some reason has caught my eye. I'm actually on the Audemars Piguet website right now, and you can actually get cufflinks to match it, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah, so that's one of the watches that kind of has caught my eye recently. The next watch is a vintage watch, and I for some reason I think this shape of watch has really caught my eye, and that is just a very classic, very simple vintage Cartier Tank. These watches are Cartier as a watch manufacturer has an incredible history, but I think the Tank is obviously one of their staples. This watch, similar to the Royal Oak, just has hours and minutes on it, but it has Roman numerals in a square-shaped case, and a beautiful crown, and it's just a simple dress watch. It's a smaller watch, it's not going to be very big sitting on your wrist like the Royal Oak. It's kind of the polar opposite of the Royal Oak, but for some reason it's really caught my eye. I think it's because I've been kind of getting a little bit more into dress watches, and I remember I used to have a Universal Genève in a similar case shape as this, and it was one of my first-ish vintage pieces, and I really loved the way it kind of sat on my wrist. All my pieces are round right now, so I don't actually have a square watch or a non-circular watch. I am obviously a huge fan of Vacherons Toledo, and maybe that kind of helped get me into this the Tank. But this is a watch actually I've never really worn a vintage Cartier Tank. I've had worn other Cartier watches, but never had a Tank on my wrist. Or sorry, never owned a Tank. I've had Tanks on my wrist. I've been able to kind of experience them, but I've never actually owned a one of these and been able to wear it for an extended period of time. I think I've kind of gotten into leather straps recently. It's ironic because we're moving into summer where I'm living, and you don't really want to be wearing a leather strap because it will get all sweaty and not smell very great. But yeah, it's something about the classic nature of this watch. This is kind of really caught my eye, and is something that is really interesting to me. So yeah, that's the second watch. And then the third watch, and again, I think it has to do with the shape of this watch, and is the just a very simple Jaeger Lecoultre Reverso. I think again it's the shape similar to the Cartier Tank in the shape that it's in, but this watch is unique because it has a reversible face of the dial. You can actually push the watch out, and you can turn it to another side of the watch. These watches, if you are not really familiar, these were used by polo players, and they used to turn the dial side down so that they had a stainless steel back, which was able to protect the glass when they used to play polo. And yeah, again, I think it has to do with the shape, but also just the unique feature where you can actually flip it over and protect the dial. Some of the newer versions of the Reverso actually have a second dial on the other side of the watch, so you can have, let's say, like a white dial and then a blue dial. Also, the more complicated Reversos have different complications on either side of the dial, so that's another kind of way that you can experience Reversos. It got me thinking about watches that can flip over like that, because there aren't that many I could flip over, and I'm blanking on the name of this. I believe it's the Hamilton Otis. Yes, the Hamilton Otis. I used to own a Hamilton Otis because this was a watch that was produced in 1938 by Hamilton, which is a US-based company, and you could do the same thing with the Reverso, and you can flip it over and have a blank case back. I think there's a good history about this, and maybe I'll go into it in a video where I can talk about the Hamilton Otis and its kind of relationship with Jaeger Lecoultre, because I think that would be an interesting watch. It's an interesting video to kind of discuss. Yeah, so those are the three watches. It's the Audemars Piguet Tourbillon, the Cartier Tank, Vintage Cartier Tank, and the Jaeger Lecoultre Reverso. These three watches have caught my eye. I think I'm looking at more of a dressy style for some reason going into the summer, where you normally kind of go into a more sporty mood. But yeah, those are the three watches. Let me know which watches have caught your eye recently. I'd love to kind of hear and compare tastes, especially with the seasons changing and being that this year's been a little bit different, so you actually haven't been able to go outside and be on the sporty side of things. But for some reason I'm erring on the dressier side. So leave a comment below what you guys have been, what watches you've been thinking about, what watches you've been exploring. Also, if you didn't do it in the beginning of the video, be sure to hit the subscribe button first. It really does help us out. And also you can turn on that notification bell so that you can be notified when we upload. Also, don't forget to smash that like button for us. It really does help us out. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.